Oh, I gotta see what the hell number this is. Well, I know what number it is, but what date? 27th. Yeah.
Siri, sit. Siri, sit. Good girl. Good girl.
What?
I know. I'm proud of you. We're training our dog.
Oh, what's her name? Daisy, right?
Siri. It was Daisy, and we changed it.
Oh, okay. I thought it was Daisy when you went.
She has white hair, and a character in a book we like has white hair, and therefore Siri.
And Maisie's iPhone will respond to it as well.
I know. The neighbors, I overheard them joking to each other, and they were like Siri, and then laughing, and they're like, Alexa, sit. Fuck you guys.
Hey, Google, come.
Exactly.
They're very clever next door.
Yeah.
This seems like a good a place to start as any. I don't even care about the formal introduction. I mean, I'm going to say it still, but why not just include it?
Sure.
Why not? Everything is content. That's the credo that people go by these days. This is Team
Everything.
Objection Podcast. It's episode 397. It's June 27th, 2019. I have some things to talk about up front before we jump into what is now going to be our, I would imagine, last Suns cast until we get closer to the season starting, because there's not going to be a lot left. I'm not talking about Summer League on this podcast. I'm sorry. I don't care if DeAndre Ayton scores 300 points in a game. Okay, I would probably do that.
Actually, I could see one more Suns cast, depending on what we do in free agency, if anything.
I
Wait,
suppose.
We'll see.
If we sign Kawhi Leonard, I think we should do one more Suns
Sure.
cast.
I mean, yeah.
If we do what I'm expecting, I don't have much to talk about, which is sign a competent point guard. If we don't, then I'm going to need 30 minutes to rant. So you might be right.
All right.
And that's coming up soon. I mean,
Suns cast.
just around the corner. Suns cast. First, two line item things to deal with here. Number one, no show next week. Next week is July 4th. It's on the Thursday, so there's no show next week. Enjoy your time off. Celebrate America, etc. I'll have family in town, so I won't be around anyways. But yeah, no show next week. We'll resume on the 11th. The 11th is episode 398, meaning that the 25th is episode 400. I have the stuff prepared for that episode already. It's ready to go, but I can't talk about it because it could tip the scales.
Yeah, I don't even know. We don't even know what it is.
I'm as in the dark as the audience is.
Mm-hmm. So I can't even give any hints because it would give things away. So just know that there's stuff ready to go for it. It'll be another jam-packed episode, and that's coming July 25th. That's number 400. Goddamn.
Ooh. Wow.
Is that all?
Sunscast.
Sunscast.
So
Everybody's favorite. Probably
gonna-
not true.
We're going to break down the NBA draft. I didn't think we would do a Sunscast, and then they made like 17 trades on draft day, and they made a controversial selection or two, and so we got to break it all down, and we're going to kind of talk about what they did do, what they didn't do, and what they should do going forward. Of course, they listened to us, obviously.
And then as a bonus round, what they won't do
Yeah.
because they're the Suns.
Win
there's
more
a
than
lot
30
that-
games next year? Probably not.
I saw someone give them a draft grade of Phoenix.
Yes.
That was the grade.
I saw someone talk about how they wanted to give them an F-, but the people in their office talked them out of it, so they went with an F.
Yeah.
Mostly because an F- isn't actually a thing, but you know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
So, Phoenix went into the draft with the number 6 pick and the number 32 pick, and didn't use either of them because they traded both in separate deals. One of them, they unloaded TJ Warren's contract, just tossed him aside basically for cap space. See you later, TJ, and his $12 million-ish per year. 2 years left, I think he had. Maybe 3.
3.
Because it was an extension, yeah. So 3 years, like 36-ish million left. For a guy that did increase his three-point percentage last year to 42%, up from an abysmal 20-something.
Dario, oh, no, never mind.
No, not yet.
No.
We're not there yet.
But I'm not really super sad to see him go. We had a bulk of small forwards anyways, so why not use that to get something out of it, except we got nothing, sort of.
Yeah, I was going to say, how do you guys feel about that?
So,
I mean, we went over it. None of us were huge TJ Warren fans.
I think we were all of the opinion that he needed to go. Like he didn't fit on our team. He is to me, he's the perfect come off the bench for a playoff team to score them 10 points when you need 10 points in 20 minutes a game or something like that. And it doesn't make sense for him on this team. He has way more value on another team. Unfortunately, other teams know that, so we got really nothing in return except for some cap space.
Yep.
He doesn't pass.
Nope.
He doesn't pass.
No. Which is why he's perfect for a few minutes a game.
Sure.
You need buckets? All right, 20 buckets, gotcha.
There's a delineation between players who can react quickly and those who can't. Some people can thread passes instantly And they see the floor excellently, and they're all really good at that. Some players hesitate for like a half second, but they're still capable of making the right pass ultimately. They have good basketball IQ. They just don't quite have that full sense of the floor. TJ Warren could miss a pass like 4 seconds late.
Yeah.
Like, there were times where you could watch him have to throw the pass to somebody else on the perimeter just to make an entry pass to the post because he could not figure out how to do it. And that's kind of like just fundamental basketball stuff. And if he wasn't a defensive sieve, then maybe I wouldn't care so much. But because he's useless on the defensive end of the floor and not good at anything but scoring, at which I think he's a above average, if not really good basketball scorer, but everything else is just a weakness.
I feel like he's okay. He's good, maybe above average, but he's like 3-point shooting went up, but purely catch and shoot. He cannot. I mean, yeah, not everyone's James Harden where they can do whatever they want and still hit a three, but like he can't create his own three.
No,
he has to be wide open, and defenses know that.
Yep.
So how valuable was his 3-point shooting? Yeah, if he's wide open on the wing, sure. If not, then it didn't matter. So,
and in all honesty, how hard is it to find some guy who can hit open threes?
Yeah.
I don't think it's that hard. Like, having other skills is really where it comes into it. And he's not elite. He's good. He really improved in 3-point shooting, but he's not like the elite, I'm going to make it every time I get a catch and shoot three from the corner.
Yeah.
Now, this deal is very much TBD for me. Unlike the other ones, which I think I can give a pretty definitive grade to, at least based on what we know right now, this grade depends on two things. One, are we re-signing Oubre? And two, are we buying a point guard with our extra money? Because if the answer to either of those is no, I don't know how much I like this deal. If the answer to both is no, this deal is god-awful.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's no reason that you give away an asset. TJ Warren had an asset. He had an asset value, I think. He could be a decent player if we didn't have a logjam power forward. But if we're giving away for literally nothing and then not doing anything, it's like Sarver being cheap again, it seems.
Yeah. I'm like flashing back to the Kurt Thomas days where we give away all our draft picks that all go on to be all-stars.
Yep.
Yeah,
and I mean,
it's ridiculous.
TJ Warren is an NBA rotation player, even with his faults and his warts. I don't know if he's more than like the 8th best guy on a championship team, but he's a rotation guy because he has one NBA skill that he's definitely good at. But until he's willing to accept a role off the bench to be more of a Jamal Crawford in his prime, Lou Williams type who just brings that kind of scoring bursts and doesn't have to worry about defense, that's his highest cap whatsoever. And so I don't miss him. But if you're going to give up a guy that you could have traded for more, potentially, or package with like a Josh Jackson to get the hell off of his contract or something, if this is the return, you better use it. And we don't know what the situation is until we get to free agency in a few days here.
So that was one. That was the first. And we're like, all right.
That was like 2 hours before the draft. We're like, weird. Wonder what else they have up their sleeve.
Well, and so that's the problem, is that we'll get into this in a minute, but when you hear this, you're like, oh my God, they're going for it. They're going for the free agency. They're going for the big free agent, or at least, they're going for like a D'Angelo Russell type or a Malcolm Brogdon type. Well, then the draft happened.
So, not yet, Dave. Oh, yeah, no, not yet. I'm right. So then we have the number 6 pick. And we're like, you know what? Too much potential here.
Kobe White, we don't like, is basically what they said.
So here's the thing. I'm torn because it does seem like consensus had quite a lot of talent still. Not a Zion Williamson, not the top 3, but some good talent. But we have how many players who seem to have potential in the last few years? Marquise Chris, Dragon Bender,
Alex
Len.
Josh Jackson.
Josh Jackson.
Still to be determined, but it ain't looking good.
So I think our front office was tired of potential that doesn't go anywhere. So am I. So we trade down from the 6 to the 11. And we trade it for Dario Saric.
Saric, apparently, is how you pronounce it.
All right, that's fine.
Which I had no idea, but
so,
yes, Saric.
I don't really know a lot about him. I heard he's okay.
I can say, basically, the odd thing that happened was TJ Warren was picked 14th in the 2014 NBA draft. Dario Saric was picked 12th in the 2014 NBA draft. So kind of we traded our down from the 2014 draft in a way.
Down 5 spots to get up 2 spots.
Exactly. You got it.
All right.
Honestly, I kind of like the move because we weren't going to draft a power forward. And so we picked up a guy who's on the final year of a rookie deal, so it's only about $3-ish million, so not a bad deal. And we kind of took a chance on somebody who's a good shooter, big body, is pretty tough from everything I've ever heard, and just might not be in the right situation. So we got a shooter.
But so he was on Philadelphia first.
Yes.
And he did okay. And then he's on Minnesota, and he did okay. So my concern
he did well his second season in Philadelphia. He regressed last year in Minnesota.
Okay.
Yeah. And that could be just the change of scenery he wasn't a huge fan of. It was a mid-season trade. It was I think he was part of the Jimmy Butler trade. So yes. I mean, maybe with a full training camp under his belt and a system that he knows well, he might flourish here because he did do well his second year in Philly.
I have hope. I really do. I just don't want another Ryan Anderson. And I think out of the gate, Dario is better than Ryan Anderson. Yes. But I'm still like afraid. We had Anderson, we had Trevor Ariza. We had some reasons to be maybe a little excited. Both of them were horrible. So I'm like a little nervous, but I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt.
Sharch is on the right side of the age curve. He's a much better passer than Anderson, and he's a much better defender than Anderson.
Yep.
So even if he suffered through some another god-awful shooting slump like Ryan Anderson did, that's not his only NBA ability, so he should be okay still.
And we don't have, I mean, is he going to be better than Dragon Bender? Yeah.
Yeah.
No matter what happens. He can break his leg, he's going to be better than Dragon Bender.
Yeah, he has to be. He's already proven that at the NBA level.
And I'm kind of still a Dragon Bender apologist. I don't really want to get rid of him quite yet.
I want to re-sign him as our backup 4.
Yeah.
I absolutely do, and that's something we might get to.
We will.
So
let's talk about in a vacuum. Forgetting all the other moves outside of this, I don't have a problem with this deal except maybe one small one, and it's not even necessarily what they traded down to or who they got for it. I kind of like going down 5 spots, getting a starting power forward on a reasonable contract, although it is a 1-year deal that he has left before he gets paid. I don't know if I like the timing. The only issue I have with this deal is the fact that this got announced, I think, when pick 3 was on the clock.
It was announced before the draft.
Before the draft even started.
Mm-hmm.
To me, exactly. I don't even mind arranging for a deal and coming to terms with one and being like, all right, Minnesota, if the time comes and there's nobody that we really want left at 6, it's yours for Sharge and 11. We'll lock that in.
Yep.
On the off chance, like Zion was never falling to 6. Morant was not falling to 6. I get that. But why do the deal before the draft instead of just coming to terms and then at 6 going, okay, maybe the one reach guy we wanted didn't fall here, so let's pull the trigger.
Or even the second that one reach guy is gone.
Yeah.
You have your target. If he falls, you're like, oh, wait, hold on. Because that would be the worst thing. Zion wasn't falling, but like in that 1 in a trillion chance, it's like this guy keeps falling. You're like, wait, we really wanted this guy. We thought we had no shot at him. You just shoot yourself in the foot.
Yeah.
Well, didn't that kind of happen in a way, except that we weren't interested, obviously? White was pretty good, I've been hearing. A lot of people on their board had him as, if I'm thinking about the right person, the second best athlete in that top 6, right? I mean, after Williamson, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Kobe White was very highly rated. Yeah, he had good athletic skills. I heard a lot of reports saying the Suns were interested in him going into the draft, even more so than Darius Garland, who got picked 1 pick before where we would have picked at 6. So, it all lined up that we could have picked Kobe White, but I think the big thing is that we didn't want to have a rookie point guard going into next year.
Yep, that's my thing.
Yep.
That's why people are like, well, the Suns need a point guard. Why aren't they taking White? Or there was still a chance Garland might have fallen there until he taken 5th. But, why aren't they going for that situation? It's like, I'll tell you why. Let's see. Melton, Akobo, Ennis, Marshall. How many more picks can we waste on point guards? Ulyss?
Yeah.
On mediocre, mid to late first round and or second round picks that are not panning out. And I want an actual point guard on this roster. We suffered through 2 seasons of god-awful ones. I don't want to have if you're going to draft one and then still sign somebody, fine. But I don't want to draft one high and then be like, all right, well, the keys of the franchise are his.
Mm-hmm.
So this gets weird because the draft consensus, according to it, we failed miserably with Cam Johnson. And I think let's evaluate that pick in a second. But I keep reading articles about how people are getting collectively getting worse at the draft every year. And the consensus seems to be flawed more and more every year. So according to the consensus, we failed, but the consensus is sort of flawed anyway. So how much do we really care? That's my question.
I guess the thing to look at is we got the guy we wanted. And we had to, that's kind of what we wanted. We had a target, we got him. That's what the front office said. I don't know that it was the best move because I think we might have been able to get him later and maybe picked up one more asset. But we got the guy we wanted, so I can't. I guess I'm gonna have to trust the scouting department in that instance.
I know people thought it was weird, and initially I was a little taken aback too, but I really don't mind the pick. And maybe he sucks. Maybe it doesn't work. I don't know. But conceptually, I honestly don't mind it. There's a couple reasons why. One, rumors are Detroit was interested in him at 15. Now, how much you can believe that, I don't know. We don't really know what was going on in the Suns draft room. Same with kind of the timing when they traded the 6th pick. Who knows what discussions they were having before they pulled the trigger on them. We don't know. But if that's the guy you want and it's after the top 10, to me, I don't care. The number of players that stick after the top 10 in the NBA is awful.
Mm-hmm.
I would wager, I haven't done the research and I haven't been able to find a stat to back it up, but I would bet you 80% of non-top 10 picks don't last 5 years in the league.
But Chris,
first or second
what
round.
about Kawhi Leonard? That's what they love to do, right? It's
Sure.
like there's one exception in a
There's
million,
Giannis,
and they're like,
Kawhi, yeah.
they keep pointing to him, and it's like, all right, but what about all the others?
Yeah.
What's Kawhi,
It's-
13?
Worse?
Worse?
15.
So it was
we
Giannis.
We picked Markieff Morris at 13. That
Kobe
Kawhi
was in
draft.
that range. Like Kobe was almost in that range. Steve
Yep.
Nash notably in that range. There's examples for sure. And there's some second round picks that are really stuck, like a Draymond Green infamously, a Gilbert Arenas, etc. Like it's not impossible, but your odds suck.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't really matter what the big board says, and the Draft Central guys don't have it all figured out, and Jay Billis doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. So like if that's the guy you want and that's the spot, and it's not, I mean you don't take the number 60 guy there. But if you're off 10 spots, who cares?
So we got like the best shooter in the draft.
Yes.
Yeah.
We
Yes.
got a power forward who can shoot the 3. So
Yes.
I don't mind. Devin Booker's your guy. I mean, this is what I keep hearing is like the Suns failed Devin Booker. They need to be building around Devin Booker, and they didn't through the draft. And I'm thinking, well, you're surrounding him by a bunch of shooters, so it opens up the floor for him. He can penetrate and like it kind of does seem like we have one guy that we really care about. And Ayton, sure.
Mm-hmm.
Let's try to get them as successful as possible.
The way I see it, what did we talk about on, I think it was 2 Suns casts ago? We need shooting. We were terrible at shooting.
We were the worst.
All we talked about was how the Suns needed more shooting. That's all we got this draft.
Yeah.
We got shooting. And I in looking through that lens, I like these moves.
Well, I told Shaun this a little bit kind of off air, but I'll bring it up here because we don't know how far anybody can fall after they're taken.
Mm-hmm.
We saw what happened to Bol,
Mm-hmm.
and we saw what happened to
Brandon Clark.
Yeah, thank you, Brandon. So who was rumored to be also of interest to the Suns.
I wanted him. I will say I wanted him at 11.
People wanted
yeah.
the Suns to take him at 6.
That was ridiculous.
I thought
Clark-
that was a reach too.
Clark might have been the guy who was the superior athlete, by the way.
Yeah. Oh,
But
absolutely.
anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that could be an interesting pick. And at that level, if he falls to the 20s, I think it's definitely worth rolling the dice. But if we picked Clark 6, we have no way of knowing that he would have ended up falling to 24.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it wouldn't happen that way because it would change things. I mean, I get that. But only because those two weren't picked until so long later do we know that they were like huge drop risks. So who knows how far Cam Johnson would have fallen.
Man, and I'll even say, Chris, to a point that you made earlier, I agree with you. But now to the point you're making, I think infamously now had a deal during the draft to get Steph Curry. And at the last second, Golden State dropped out.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, on one hand,
If
it's
they
like,
agree, then maybe you just do it because you don't want to risk that.
yeah, like, can you squeeze out the most value? And then on the other side, well, you can, but you're kind of taking a risk. So
Yeah, that's true. So then we kept going in the draft. I mean, I guess we can talk about Cam Johnson a little bit more. He said he's the best shooter in the draft, but the concerns about him were his hips, basically, and his age. He's older than Devin Booker.
Yep.
Which is stunning to me to hear.
well, and I'm thinking, I don't think it's quite this like 1-to-1, but you're James Jones. Not your draft pick, but a draft pick your team has made. Just got his daughter, a 4-year-old daughter, high on marijuana.
4-month-old. I want to say 4 months.
4 month.
It's even better.
Even
Yeah.
better. And so you're thinking, man, I don't want to deal with this shit anymore. I'm going to bring in the oldest player in the draft. I never want to have to deal with this immature jackassery again. So, I don't blame him. Yeah, you want him to make the flashy pick. You want them, I think sometimes you think, where is our Kawhi Leonard? Where's our Steph Curry? Cam Johnson's not it. But he also, I would say, like all those picks we took before, Josh Jackson, Marquise Chris, they had very noticeable, the floors could have been really low, while the ceilings could have been really high. They all hit the floor. Cam Johnson, unless he gets hurt from his hip, his floor is, better than like all of those picks already.
His ceiling and floor are pretty close, I'd say. He's going to fit in a little box.
But kind of, he is what he is. Almost like JJ Redick in a way. I'm saying he's as good as JJ Redick, but you kind of know what you're getting.
I mean, he's a very tall shooter, which is usually a good asset in the NBA.
Yeah.
Just real quick, as a thought exercise, I want to run down the non-top 10 from 2012. Okay?
Okay.
Just real quick, and I'll tell you how many of these players have stuck.
2012 was a terrible draft,
And
too.
10 was Austin Rivers.
Yeah,
So,
terrible.
I mean, he's in the league, but fuck him.
Yeah.
Myers Leonard.
Okay.
In the league.
Only played because of the injury to Nurkic.
Mm-hmm.
Jeremy Lamb played a little bit for Charlotte off the bench last year, played okay. Kendall Marshall was us. John
Gone.
Henson, Maurice
Gone.
Harkless, Royce
Gone.
White, Tyler Zeller, barely plays.
Yep.
Terrence Jones, Andrew Nicholson, Evan Fournier does play for the Magic. Jared Sullinger, too fat to be in the league. Fab Melo, barely even made it in the league.
Dead, actually.
Yeah. John Jenkins,
Literally
Jared
dead?
Cunningham,
Yes.
yeah.
Jeez.
Tony Roten, Miles Plumlee, Arnett Moultrie, Perry Jones III, Marquise Teague, and Festus Ezeli. That's the rest of that first round.
Festus is such a bad first
Now,
name.
that second round has better than that. It's got Tomas Satoransky, it's got Draymond Green, it's got Chris Middleton, it's got Jay Crowder. But
Wow.
the point is, I think the draft is a bigger crapshoot than anybody ever gives it credit for.
Yeah.
In every
Absolutely.
draft, you're going to get like 3 All-Stars, 10 starters tops, and a few bench players, and that's it out of the 60 picks. So if that's the player that they think is right, I'm all for them taking him. I just hope they're right.
Yeah, sure.
I agree.
So Ty Jerome, I don't know a damn thing. Apparently he played pretty well in the Virginia
Very
on the
well.
Virginia team. So
Yeah. Very
Cool.
well for the national championship.
if he played
team.
very well, I'm a little surprised he slipped that far.
Again, here's the thing about him. And I probably watched the most college basketball of the three of us, so
would
I
agree
could
with
probably
that.
speak to the best. Very good shooter. Again, shooter. We got
Yep.
a point guard who's a very, very good shooter. We could theoretically run, if Ayton does improve on his threes and start shooting threes, we could run a lineup out that all 5 people could hit threes, theoretically, which is nice.
And all 5 players can pass, except maybe Oubre if he's starting. But if you have Bridges in the starting lineup, all 5 players can pass well.
So we have good ball movement, good shooting. That's a lineup we can throw out there pretty easily. Ty Jerome, point guard, good ball handler, smart, very good IQ, not super athletic is the big knock. on
That's
him.
what I heard,
Good,
but-
good shooter and good IQ.
And bad wingspan. But
Yes.
People have said like shades of Steve Nash a little bit, where it's smart, good shooter, good passer, not a good athlete. I think
Yeah.
Steve was a sneakily good athlete, but
Yes,
he
he
was
was.
no Westbrook.
No.
he wasn't explosive, but boy, his balance had to have been on par with almost anybody in any sport.
Yeah.
So Ty Jerome, I'm honestly really solid pick. I think at 24. I think that we talked about whether we could have got Cam Johnson later in the draft or something like that and traded down and picked up an asset like the 24th pick, so we didn't have to trade away Milwaukee's pick next year. But honestly, I don't mind the price we paid for it. Trading Milwaukee's pick for a guy now, I'm all for
exactly.
it. I thought it was a good trade.
And what is Milwaukee's pick going to be next year? Like, who gives a
28,
shit?
31.
Yeah,
Exactly.
It's not going to be good. So, and I'm fine with it. The only thing that confused me, and I kind of alluded to this earlier, is the fact that we picked up Aaron Baines in the trade, which I like him as a backup center, but we gave away $11 million a year in TJ Warren for nothing to free up cap space, and then picked up $5 more million a year, plus the draft salary for Ty Jerome, so about $7 million more a year, right back up. It's an odd timing of that.
And that LeCue guy, too.
The Q is a minimum. He's making $800,000 a year or something like that. So he's
No. It's like $4 million. I
No,
swear.
It's a 4-year deal, 2 guaranteed.
Okay.
Yes.
But it takes up exactly the same space as an empty slot would have for cap purposes anyways.
Yep.
Gotcha.
So that
Okay.
one's not hurting our potential for free agencies one bit.
What do you think about the LeCue thing? Baby
Why not?
Westbrook.
It's a lottery ticket.
the shot. To
Okay.
play him in the G League. Hopefully, he gets some skills.
I mean, you can't really find that kind of athleticism anymore. The question is, can he actually develop any basketball skill? And
Yep.
again, that's exactly kind of the pick they should be making. You don't even have to waste a draft pick on him. You just take a flyer on him and you see. Why not? What do you need for your G League?
Yeah.
Like, what are you going to do? Stash down Josh Jackson? I would hope, but it's not going to happen. So put some other enticing players down there.
Yep.
So, what do you guys think of Aaron Baines?
I like the pickup.
All things considered, from what I've heard, is like he's tough. He's pretty good. I think he might even have more value in practice.
Yes, absolutely.
Toughening up Ayton. But I mean, that's not to discount what we're going to get on the court. I think if he stays, there's been some rumors, but if he ends up suiting up for the Suns next year, I think he'll be a good pickup.
Would you rather have him for $5 million or Rashawn Holmes for $4 million? Hypothetically, we don't know what Holmes is going to go for, but I'm guessing about $4 or $5 million a year.
So I think I would probably rather have Aaron Baines for $5 million a year, and the reason for that, he shot 34% from three on 1.2 attempts per game last year.
Yeah, he was still working on it, but especially as we got towards later in the season and even a bit in the playoffs, he was showing the ability to stretch the floor a little bit.
I mean, that's something that is not to be sneezed at, I don't think.
I am interested, and I think we're going to get into this conversation with the Suns. So a lot of teams, and possibly even the Suns, are looking at different construction. It is no longer necessarily about creating a super team. A lot of teams are doing a thing where they're building depth because they want to follow the Toronto method, where Toronto, yes, they had Kawhi Leonard, but so much of that run was because of their role players and their depth.
Well, and to me, if you want to put that to the Suns, there's no reason Devin Booker could not potentially be our Kawhi Leonard.
Sure. So I think the Suns, adding good shooters, adding a bunch of role players, I don't think it's a bad take.
No.
So we're Suns fans, so we're definitely biased. What would you grade this draft?
In the moment, I would have graded it about a D because it was so shocking. In the moment, it was like, why did we draft somebody we could have got 20 picks later? Why did we fill up our cap space that we just freed up? None of it made sense in the moment, but when you took a step back and looked at it and looked at the fact that we wanted high IQ guys who could shoot, it makes more sense. I wouldn't give it an A. I'd give it probably a B-, a B maybe. Didn't blow me away.
Have a hard time grading this until we sign a point guard.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Because it automatically becomes an F if they don't.
Yeah.
But I think I'd actually give it a slightly higher grade objectively than I would as a Suns fan. I look at these things from an objective perspective, and I don't understand the hate. I get where it's coming from on the base level. Again, the consensus is, well, you're not supposed to pick Cam Johnson there, blah, blah, blah. But most people seem to like the Jerome pick. I don't give a shit about the Milwaukee pick, so losing that doesn't mean anything. And I don't think when people say that we gave away Warren for nothing, I think they forget what it looks like when he plays, which is understandable because he misses 30 goddamn games a year.
Yeah, Another thing. Thank you. I was going to bring that up is when he even plays.
Yeah.
Now, yeah, I think it's interesting to grade this because – sorry, you didn't give your grade.
I look at B- for now.
Okay.
Maybe a B.
If you were to retroactively – so we might not be able to grade this until the future, right? But at the same token, if you retroactively grade our picks for every year before we got Ayton, what was it? D? F?
I mean, if you retroactively grade 2017 Josh Jackson, right now that's looking like a solid F.
Yeah.
Because De'Aaron Fox is right next.
Marquise Chris,
2016,
Dragon Bender, F. Maybe
F.
D-.
Every
Alex
player,
Len.
Every player in between them at 4 and 8 was better and is better.
Yeah.
Alex Len, that was a bad draft too, but it hasn't panned out. And I was talking to somebody else today as we were running some errands, and I was saying, I don't think this is going to happen. I think all three will still be in the league, but there is a chance that all three of those high lottery picks could be out of the league next year. Chris, Bender, and Len. I don't think that'll be the case. I think all three will latch on somewhere because they're still young enough that somebody can stash them as their 13th man and have hope. But the fact that that's even a possibility is damning.
I mean, I guess at that point it becomes a trend of like this is more us than them, right?
Potentially,
Yeah, right.
or whether it's our ability to grow them and foster their growth, or to just select the talent to begin with, one way or the other. Yeah.
I mean, I would say though, no one yet has been horrible on our team, gone to another team and been great. I mean, the more they really started doing bad, and now they're in better situations. So that's a little bit. They were okay for a while with us until they went off the deep end and started punching homeless people.
Yeah, everyone will point to Isaiah Thomas.
I guess, but even then, look how little that lasted for.
Yeah,
not
exactly.
a little bit, but That was such
had-
a bad situation. It was
Yeah.
also wasn't a draft pick.
And he
Yeah.
had 3/4 of an MVP season, and now he can't get on the court either. And that was
No.
also just 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But like Chris, I look at Marquise Chris.
Mhm.
Horrible.
No,
No matter where he
he's
goes.
He's already on his third team. He got traded twice last year.
And speaking of non-draft picks, you push forth Isaiah Thomas. I will raise you Brandon Knight,
Yep.
who still can't play.
Yeah.
Nope.
Marquise Chris, by the way, couldn't even get on the court for Cleveland.
Yeah.
Like with Houston, you could be like, well, Houston has title aspirations, so they're not going to play around with him if he's not up to standard. Cleveland was terrible.
They were tanking.
I also think a lot of our bad grade comes down to our reputation.
Yeah.
I just have a hard time believing that if we were, Toronto's GM or a GM who's respected, the Spurs, this wouldn't have been a D or an F.
But you know what? This was one of the biggest points I wanted to bring up during this, and it's this. Ryan McDonough was a dumpster fire. We can say that unequivocally now. We've been saying it for some time now. And his way of going about things was to collect assets and ignore them as people and just take his best player available, stockpile stuff, turn it into something else. He never turned it into something else.
Yeah.
And the added issue here is this. He came from Boston, and his pedigree was such that he was that front office is pretty well regarded. Look what's happened to Boston the last year.
Yeah.
They
Everyone
have
hates him.
fallen apart. There's a decent chance they're going to lose all of Al Horford and Kyrie Irving and Marcus Morris in this offseason and get none of them back.
Marcus Smart?
No, Marcus
Morris.
Morris.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Which is not that big of a deal, but those are 3 of their starters.
Okay.
They could go into this offseason losing all of them, and now all of a sudden they also don't have that many draft picks left either. So
Yeah.
in a year, again, how quickly things can change in the NBA. In a year, they went from maybe having the best position of anybody in the league to having all this Anthony Davis drama happen, and all of a sudden they could be looking at having nothing.
Yeah.
And they're cut from the same cloth as McDonough. So my whole point to all this is this. I'd rather them take the player they're comfortable with, who's a good fit with the organization, who has good character, and the hell with the best player available, and the hell with collecting assets.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're not collecting assets anymore. It's time to collect actual fucking basketball players.
All right, give me. I totally agree. I like that take. That's our soundbite. We have to edit it. Now, who do you want as point guard?
So, first, I think a good exercise is I think we can all kind of try to play GM for a little bit, kind of make what you think our realistic moves are. I think it'd be a good idea for all three of us to try to take a shot at what our moves should be this offseason.
Well, okay, so I'll tell you.
Okay.
Until today, like probably 4 hours ago, I was hard on the D'Angelo Russell train.
Yeah.
And I would still be pretty goddamn excited if we got him because it's kind of like the flashy move. But the more I thought about it, I'm like, okay, so we have Devin Booker needs touches. Like, has to have touches. He's great. Ayton, I mean, what his percentage was through the roof. Now, he was very selective on his shots, but, that he needs the ball in his hands too. So if we bring in a type that's like a Russell, who also kind of wants to create his own shots, have the ball in his hands, I start worrying if we run into an issue like that, as opposed to someone like a Ricky Rubio, where like their main thing is they're going to distribute to our scorers. And so now I'm wondering if someone like a Rubio or just a straight passer who can hit maybe a reliable shot. I don't know if Rubio even can do that. But that's like more the person I'm thinking. Can hit a reliable shot as a spot-up shooter if they're open. Almost like Jason Kidd for the Dallas Mavericks when they won the title. Can hit the shot, but really is just a facilitator and lets the other guys do what they do. What are your thoughts?
You've got a good point. A couple things. One, I think Russell raises our ceiling pretty high because of his offensive ability. He's got a lot. I think he's a good passer, just a good all-around offensive player, and can really make a splash. But someone like a Rubio could be either a stopgap for the sense of we can almost sign him to a 2-year contract or something like that, and reevaluate in a couple of years. So he's a kind of a veteran who's a smart player who will defer more to other people, and that maybe is what we need in this situation, is kind of let Ayton and Booker grow with a team around him who will support them and not maybe try to take all the shots or just can't flat out play.
I am not super high on the D'Angelo Russell bandwagon. Now, that's not to say I don't want him. But I would almost rather have Rubio for the reasons mentioned, but also because he's cheaper.
Yeah.
Yes.
If it's a question of, and I don't even know if this is even possible, but let's just pretend. If it's a question of Rubio and Oubre or Russell, then to me the answer is pretty clear.
Yes.
Because to get the gymnastics to get D'Angelo here, assuming he's going to take the max, which is about 26, 27 million, involves probably getting rid of both Tyler Johnson and Josh Jackson, either by stretching them both or by giving away another asset to get rid of Josh Jackson's corpse.
Yep.
So the question then is Russell worth effectively losing Tyler Johnson and Kelly Oubre and, say, our first-round pick in 2020 or whatever? And I don't know if the answer is yes.
I think there's a way that we can do it and keep Oubre, but your point still stands because that's it. We are maxed out at that point. Our flexibility becomes very small. If we do like a Rubio or somebody else, that might open up to where, again, if we're taking the Raptors mentality of like maybe we bring in 2 solid role players instead of one. You know, I hesitate to call him a superstar. He's not. He could be maybe one day, but Russell as of right now is a good player. I don't know. It would be exciting if we got him. I mean, so if I'm GM, I'm probably waiting. This is where it's so hard. You wait to see what happens with Russell because that depends on the domino of Kyrie Irving and where he decides to go, and maybe even Kevin Durant. If you wait, then by that time, maybe Rubio's off the board or someone else you had your sights on.
Well, this is why, to me, the ranking goes like this. Rubio, Russell, Brogdon, Kill Myself, Corey Joseph.
Okay. Right.
Because I'm interested in Brogdon.
Patrick Beverly.
I think from a basketball perspective, Malcolm Brogdon might be the best of both worlds, even though I'm not necessarily sure he's a point guard. But he's going to be restricted no matter what. The reason I'd be interested in Russell is if Brooklyn is basically forced to give up his unrestricted rights and he becomes an unrestricted free agent, then we don't have to jump through any of the hoops with restricted free agency and tie up our cap space for those first few days of free agencies where we could get fucked. That's the problem with Brogdon because he definitely takes Rubio out of play. You're not going to be able to go after both. So to me, that's why Russell's a little bit more intriguing. He's pretty close to Rubio for me. But it's all a risk.
Yeah.
And unless Brooklyn really thinks they have a handshake agreement with Kyrie, which who knows after Durant got injured, that deal they made a week and a half ago seems to think they do, but who are they going to pair with him now?
Yeah. So Shaun, are you on the Russell train sort of?
Before I was like hard on the train, I was going to be like upset. I was going to be angry at the Suns for like, we always bitch we don't have a superstar, like another one. No one wants to come to Phoenix. We have an opportunity to get someone who is, on the way. Exciting player, has that potential. And we're like, not interested. But yeah, now that I'm kind of thinking more about the team composition, money, flexibility, I'm open. I'm open to a Rubio or Thaddeus Young is another name. Is he a point guard?
Power forward.
Okay, power forward. So that's what they're kind of saying is we could sign like possibly a Thaddeus Young and a point guard if we don't go all in for D'Angelo Russell.
And Al Farouk Amin is another name kind of like that.
Right, yeah.
Similar.
It's going to be tough to do that one depending on what they want. I mean, Ricky Rubio made $14 million last year. I don't think he's going to make that this year, but I could see him making 10 easily, maybe 12.
Yeah.
To come here, he might want 12. And that's a lot of our cap space we have open right now.
And it's hard. There's a lot of hearsay, but it changes things for me. If Booker has gone and said, it would mean a lot to me if you do everything you can to bring Russell here.
Mm-hmm.
I on one hand, I don't like it when superstars make demands like that. It's important that the team have a vision and can execute it on their own. But, we don't have a lot going for us. Booker seems to want to be here. I would like to try to make him happy. If that even happened.
Yeah.
Yep. So my in point guard land, I actually am all aboard the Malcolm Brogdon train. I have kind of I kind of wanted Russell the most, but I think Brogdon is who I want the most. He's going to be a little bit cheaper than D'Angelo Russell. He should only go around the $20 million range, which means all we have to do in that instance is potentially try to dump Josh Jackson.
See, I don't know if that's true anymore. I was with you until they unloaded Tony Snell. Now that they've done that, I think you're going to have to go big if you want the Bucks not to match on Brogdon. So I think you get him around the same price as Russell, and if that's the case, then it's kind of up to which you prefer. But I don't know that $20 million is going to get the job done. I think the Bucks match that, and they just let go of Mirotic and maybe even Lopez too.
It's possible. I mean, the most recent thing I was hearing was that the Chicago wanted him for 4 years, $80 million. I was like, well, we can offer more than that. You know, we play a little games with dumping Josh Jackson or stretching him or whatever we need to do. But I mean, that would, I think, be my happiest area is to get that. Because I don't know that we're going to get anything much more than one kind of big person in free agency. I really think we're going to get either Ricky Rubio or maybe a Thad Young, and not much else, because I don't think we can sign two of them. I don't think we can get both of them in this instance.
Yeah, I'm telling you. Hot take. We have Russell or even Rubio or Brock. Let's say really either one of those three. I'll make the same hot take. Booker, Oubre, Šarić,
yeah.
Ayton. That's a playoff team. That's a fringe playoff team, but they make it.
In the West, it's going to be really tough because you figure the Lakers are going to get better.
Yeah.
Dallas is going to get better.
It's really hard to say right now.
Yeah, it's really hard to say.
Those injuries to the Warriors and the Rockets bickering with each other have opened so many doors to so many teams.
It's going to be a crazy open season this year.
Like the Pelicans, I don't see... they have a ton of potential going forward. I don't think this is the year for them to make a big splash. I wasn't impressed by that core in LA. I'm not super impressed with the addition of Williamson, essentially.
It's so much more than just Zion. I mean, they got a bunch of pieces. I think they've had the best offseason out of anybody so far with what they turned one asset into.
But I don't know if that helps them this year.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
This year, I don't know. Utah, they made a trade. They could be interesting.
Yeah. I mean, Conley is a perfect pickup for them.
I would have liked Conley.
Yeah. I don't know if I would have loved his salary, but I would have liked him.
So, I don't know. I think it's a pretty good team, though.
I think the only reason I'm against Brogdon is I'm just petrified of the thought of going after him, missing the other two or any other like free agent point guards, and then having nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I swear to God, I cannot watch another season without a goddamn NBA point guard on this roster. I can't do it. And while you might be like, well, Tyler Johnson, I'm like, okay. I mean, he's clearly the best of anybody we've had, but that's such that's like, you know, an able-bodied person winning a 1.5-legged race where the guy can't even balance right because he has half a leg and he just keeps falling over. That's every other point guard they've had.
Something that I've considered is if we did have to go into that situation where we go in with nobody really at point guard and we just run one more year of Tyler Johnson, we are going to have a ton of cap room next year.
Yes.
If we just run it back.
We have at least a max slot next year.
Yeah,
absolutely. I did some math on it.
We have a max slot for...
But for what? Next year's free agents class sucks.
That's the problem.
And, and no one wants to come here anyway.
Yeah. It's tough in that instance.
The only way we're going to get someone is like this. That's why I'm like, I almost think even though Rubio might be a better fit, you almost have to roll the dice on Russell if he's available because he could be that thing. We're so starved for that superstar coming to Phoenix.
Like, Russell's not my first choice, but I've seen people who are like, well, you know, I don't really want to have to stretch Johnson to get him because then it's like $7.5 million against our cap the next 2 years. And I'm like, who cares?
Yeah.
What are we going to sign with the space? Nothing. Look at our track record. And then what? Even if that's a problem for you, the stretching's done by the time Ayton is due his raise anyways. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't really conflict.
Yeah, I mean, if we had a goal or a big free agent that was coming here next year that we might be interested in, I would be a little bit more worried about the stretching him. But, I mean, especially if we're going to get to a position where if we can get a Russell or a Brogdon and actually could get one of those guys who may help us and get us to be a fringe playoff team, I don't care about it. I don't care about going after people next year. We'll have our guys for the next 3 years.
There are people that would give up the idea of Russell to keep space open for a player who won't be as good as Russell.
Yeah, exactly.
They're so idiotic that they are basically willing to sacrifice that just for the potential because just like draft picks, these people think this could be anything. It could even be a boat.
Exactly.
It's like, you have a boat right here. His name is D'Angelo Russell. If he wants to be here, let's welcome him in.
Yeah. Exactly. It's totally true. And I don't understand the idea of that if we can get D'Angelo Russell, we can basically free up the space by just stretching and waving Tyler Johnson. Boom, done.
The one thing I think is interesting is, I know I have an idea. There are rumors the Suns want him, or maybe they don't. New Jersey maybe wants to keep him or maybe they want Kyrie. The one person I have no clue how they feel is D'Angelo Russell. I've heard nothing of it'd be really cool to play with the Suns.
It's all rumor and hearsay.
Yeah, someone asked him a long time ago, what do you think about playing with Booker? He'd be like, it was the most beat around the bush answer ever, which is, I respect, it's professional. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if they don't sign him. Maybe he's like, I really want to go back to LA. And then it's it doesn't matter. But that's why I think if he actually wants to come here, it's a certain confluence of events that would even allow that to happen. I think you got to roll the dice.
Yeah.
I think the rumors of him going back to LA are hilarious.
There's no way. There's no way, right?
I don't know.
Nick Young's not in the league anymore, so he doesn't have that conflict anymore.
If that's what they go with, and that's their core three, and then it's 11 minimum roster players for whatever they can sign. Maybe they get a couple of veterans, but that's horrible. That's horrible. Those are three ball dominant players. Yep. How the hell does that work? I know people say the same thing about the Miami big three, but this is not that. The Miami that they had a bench in Miami.
Yeah.
They had a Mike Miller, they had an Udonis Haslem that could actually, fill in minutes in the other spots in the lineup that do have to play by NBA rules. You can't just play three guys.
The idea of Anthony Davis turning into basically Miami Chris Bosh makes me laugh so hard.
After all they gave up to get him, yeah.
Now, actually, I have a question about that. So, Ayton, if he continues, I would like to get him more touches, but if he operates the way he did last year, he can do a decent amount with not a lot. Oubre, he played for 12 games, was pretty good. I feel like he wasn't real ball dominant either. A lot of his stuff was hustle plays, taking advantage of opportunities. He wasn't a dribble, then do something, right? Or am I wrong?
Not early in the shot clock, but if you got to be 7 or 8 left or so, that shot was going up from him.
Okay.
There was not going to be any secondary or tertiary action or any kind of late minute screen and roll or anything. He was getting a shot up from somewhere or another.
So I feel like that's not terrible. So if really the majority of our shots are coming from Booker or Russell, that might be okay, but we also might be better served like a Rubio, where they're just going to facilitate to our developing guys.
Yeah, I really do like the idea of Rubio on this team. I think he's fits a lot of what we need, and I'd be very happy if we end up getting him.
Yeah, I would too. We're so desperate for point guard.
I know, we really are.
What excites me so much, why I'm we'd make the playoffs. Maybe I'm naive, but we would have 5 NBA starters on the team for the first time in how many years?
That's such a foreign concept to me.
And if Josh Jackson is the 7th best player on this team, I feel like we might be okay. I feel like Jackson's done okay when he hasn't had the spotlight on him. When he's asked to be the 2nd best player on the team, things fall apart really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Same with a Bridges. Same with even a Tyler Johnson. If there's some cartwheel gymnastics we can do to keep him and still sign a Rubio, which is possible.
Actually, I wonder. I feel like if he's asked to be the 1st or 2nd best, he does okay, because that always happens. Everybody's injured, and so he ends up starting, and he does okay because it's trash basketball. It usually doesn't matter by that point. It's when we want him to be part of the starting 5, right? So. Right in that middle ground is when he really struggles. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. He sucks. He sucks.
He's so up and down, so back and forth. It's just so inconsistent.
He doesn't really mesh with the starting lineup we have.
Yeah.
In almost any way.
Yeah.
Low IQ, can't shoot really.
Hustles,
I think, sometimes.
I think, the best thing is if we're able to sign somebody sign one person, don't have to dump Jackson or Tyler Johnson to get them, and we get the guy we want. That's great, because then they're just done off our books and we don't have to worry about them going forward. But if we have a goal, I'd be willing to stretch those guys and figure out a way to get rid of them.
And you wonder what having a non-cardboard cutout coach is going to do for our discipline on the team,
Mm-hmm. It really, I'm excited to see it, because everyone glowed so much about Monty Williams. So much.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, to me, I think that's simple. You stretch Josh Jackson, you sign Rubio to 2 years, $32 million, and that's it. You're done.
Call it a day.
And you re-sign Oubre, but
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, do you do another with that little bit of extra money? Do you do Thaddeus Young? Do you do anybody else?
You wouldn't have enough for
unless
that.
He wants. I guess the mid-level exception means it's possible, depending on how much he wants.
We would only have the room exception, which is about $4 million. So I don't think we'd be able to afford
Probably
him.
not that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, he's kind of declining, so maybe, but I think he would take that money to go somewhere that was, good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I thought he could go for the Lakers for like $3 million a year, and that would probably be a better fit for him.
Yep. Quote, real quick rundown. Big free agents, where are they going? Let's hear your guesses. I'm just curious. So,
From
first of
what
all,
I hear,
I'll run them down here. How about this? I'll run them down. So, Kevin Durant.
Stays
Well,
in Golden State.
I
There's my hot take of the episode.
he
I don't
could.
know if he stays at beyond next year. I think he picks up his option and stays.
He could. I could see that happening. If
Well,
he
then
leaves,
clearly-
I would say New Jersey. I do think it sounds like. How do I say this? Going into this, when he joined Golden State, it's like everybody knew he was going to Golden State before he went. That was all the rumors, and it's starting to feel that way for New Jersey. Everywhere, anyone you talk to, all the buzz is he's going to New Jersey, and I think he's going to go there with Kyrie. I still think it could change some things since he got hurt, but I still feel like that's what's happening. Although it's weird to me because that's what I'm hearing. I would not think with all the buzz about Kyrie Irving that Durant would want to play with him.
Yeah.
But-
But
They're
everyone
both-
seems to say that's it. Like they want to.
They're both mercurial weirdos. They might be great for each other.
Yeah. All right.
Who else is there?
Kyrie Irving.
Those are the two. Kyrie Irving, yeah, I mean New Jersey, I think.
All right.
I
Kawhi
almost don't
Leonard?
think there's a chance he goes anywhere else.
No, I don't think so either.
He's not going to go to the Clippers. He's not, where else? And I don't think the Knicks.
No.
The Knicks are, why would you choose the Knicks if you could go to New Jersey? New Jersey is a better team.
Only if him and Kevin Durant were both like, yes, we're going to New York. Like that's where we're going. Then
There is an off chance that they have the savior complex. They want to go in and that's what they want their mark to be.
Mhm.
I don't think so. I also heard New Jersey maybe hurt themselves and the Clippers in a way because they've actually started creating identities now, and maybe Kyrie won't want to fit into that identity. I think that's dumb. Why would you choose New York if you could go to New Jersey at this point?
the words on the front of the jersey. That's about the only reason I could think.
Yeah, and what do the words mean lately?
Nothing at all.
I'll tell you what they mean. It's not good. It's
Yeah.
dysfunctional ownership, perennial disappointment. It's bad.
Well, what are you signing up for right now? Kevin Knox, Mitchell Robinson, and a bunch of question marks?
Hey, RJ Barrett.
I guess. Sure.
Yeah, I know. It's not. It's nothing much.
They need
honestly.
to repair their image before anyone's gonna sign there. That's what I think.
I
Maybe
think
I'll be-
Brooklyn would say no to Kyrie before Kyrie would say no to Brooklyn.
Yeah. I still think he's going to go there.
I
but-
would think so,
I think
but
so
what I'm
too.
hearing is it's like they're shaking hands behind the scenes, and so I'm like, all right. I mean, you can't always believe it. It's just that's the word on the street.
Mm-hmm.
So
The next big free agent, Kawhi Leonard.
I think he's going to the Clippers,
Really?
or he's staying in Toronto. But I think he's going to the Clippers.
Yeah, it's. I have a hard time seeing him leaving Toronto. Now, what I could see him doing potentially is doing a 1+1. So he gets the 1 year. He re-signs a 1 year contract with a 1 year player option, and that gets him up to, I believe, the 10 years in NBA experience. And next year he cashes in huge.
Could be.
So this is why we need max space next year, guys.
What? So
clearly.
Kawhi's big choice is I really have an opportunity to win another championship.
Mm-hmm.
Really good, and I know what I'm getting. And there might be an opportunity to win with LA too, but what you're getting with the Raptors.
Yeah.
Or I want to go play where I've always wanted to play. I want to be close to where my home.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's hard to say. It just depends on what he cares about more.
And honestly, he gets to go to a team that has he gets to go to a team that made the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
I mean, they were an 8 seed in the West last year, and he can come in and potentially play there and just be that piece they need. The Clippers could be really good if they got Kawhi. Really good.
They could.
Yeah.
I don't think it's quite the Raptors situation, but it's pretty close. It's not
it's
too
very
far.
close. Yeah. No.
I don't know what the Raptors are going to do. I don't know. They can't keep both Gasol and Kawhi.
They could run it back 1 more year theoretically.
Can they? Because that roster would cost $131 million.
Yeah.
And
they wouldn't sign
that's
up.
with Leonard at the $21 million player option that he has that he's not picking up.
Mm-hmm.
You sign him to a max deal, and now you're talking like $145 million.
Yeah.
Can they run that back?
When you win a title, I guess, I don't know, it kind of depends on what you want to do as an owner, you know? You try to make up your money in other ways.
I partially wonder how much they. Well, of course they care, but it's like, I mean, their big thing was we're taking a gamble to win a championship, and they won. So in a way, it's like, who cares? But obviously, you care. And
Well, I mean, the problem now is that you won the championship, and if you don't try to bring back everybody to run it back, then you're cheap and you ruined the championship team.
Mm-hmm. Like Dallas.
So, yeah, pretty much.
yeah,
last big free agent really this year is, besides the restricted guys, is Klay Thompson, and he's staying.
No,
I can't imagine he's not staying.
150%.
if Durant stays, can they afford at this? They might be able to still. Can they still afford Clay?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think pretty soon they
sign
start running into an issue, but
Well, I mean, the problem is going to be going forward. I mean, they can afford to pay max money to Clay, Steph, Kevin Durant, and Draymond Green. They can, under the salary cap, they can do it. They're going to be in luxury tax hell, but they can do it.
But it only hurts them next year when Draymond would also get a new contract.
yeah,
This season they could pull it off, no problem.
I can't imagine Clay leaves.
No.
I just can't.
The trickiest team to me is the Sixers. I don't know what they do.
I mean, yeah, they got Tobias Harris, which is a free agent.
Jimmy Butler.
Jimmy Butler, free agent. And it's funny that we aren't really even concerned about him. I don't think a lot of people are. I think he lost himself a lot of money with this terrible attitude.
Probably. But they could bring both of those guys back, but they're going to lose Redick in the process, and then all of a sudden Embiid and Simmons are coming for raises.
Mm-hmm.
Is that
And
team
what do you
good
pay
enough?
Simmons? If you're, superior talent, can't shoot, what do you do with him?
Well, 3 months ago, before his usage rate plummeted in the playoffs, I think the answer would have been he gets the max, even with his flaws. Now, I don't know. Might behoove him to get in the gym this summer and actually be able to shoot like 30% from three.
Or actually just shoot a three, pretty much.
Mm-hmm. So that's a tricky situation, too, because, again, they were one weird Kawhi bounce from advancing in the playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
And now they're on this razor thin. Like, it's amazing how thin the margin is for almost every team in the league right now. And this is coming about 8 months after everybody said, no, the Warriors winning to foregone conclusion, so I don't even watch the NBA. Fuck you.
I know. I thought that was so funny.
Shut up.
There's always a reason. I mean, and this next year is going to be the most wide open year that we've had in a while, I imagine.
In a way, I almost hope the Warriors win next year. Just
I
like,
agree.
Yes, join me.
There's a window, huh?
Back on the bandwagon. Here we go. I've been here the whole time, baby.
I wouldn't. It wouldn't bother me next year.
No.
If they won it.
And I'm kind of glad they lost this year just because it makes everybody shut up about NBA basketball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's all.
So, yeah, I mean, all I want is the Suns to get a solid player and go in with like, hey, we have a little bit of something to think about. We actually have something to be like, we're not dire straits immediately walking into the season.
Well, I really wonder, putting 4 NBA starters around Devin Booker, how much that's actually going to elevate us. Like, I think it could be exponential.
Yeah.
I'm hoping. That's really our only shot for, if we want to talk about being a contender like this generation. I'm not saying next year, but
this next decade.
Anytime soon, going from, if we want to actually be a contender, it's going to kind of rely on, can Devin Booker live up to kind of these comparisons that we are making for him.
Mm-hmm.
The Kobe Bryant, the Michael Jordan. Now, you know what I'm saying. Not to that level, but the youngest player to score 70, so on and so forth. If he can live up to any of that could be huge. I mean, we've seen what superstars can do in the league.
Yeah, when they're surrounded by smart, good talent.
Yeah.
Like Kawhi was. Like, I mean, really, I think Kawhi is the best mold.
And Booker's never had that. I mean, at the end of the year, he was like fucking around because our team sucks so bad. He's like, you know what? I'm going to go score 50. No one around him could do anything, and he's scoring 50.
I know.
And the teams know nobody around him can do anything.
And
they're
still
double and
50.
triple teaming him, and he scores 50.
And I mean, Ayton, I'm even including him on doing nothing because he was fine for the 10 shots he'd take a game, if that. And he could rebound, but he wasn't passing the ball to Booker. He wasn't helping to free Booker at all. So,
No.
I mean, he's the X factor,
Yep.
Sounds tough.
Yeah.
I was listening to the radio and they were like, "What do you think about Kawhi to the Lakers?" And I turned it off. He's not. I cannot see it wastes my time to think about Kawhi to the Lakers. Kawhi to the Lakers. That's like thinking of a LeBron coming to the Suns. It's like why even
KD.
waste thought thinking about it?
We can get Durant now.
Yeah.
I mean, all we got to do is wave and stretch Tyler Johnson and make a couple other moves, and
I would do it. We don't even know what his long-term prognosis is. I would do it.
If for some reason no one else wanted to take that gamble, and he fell to us, I would absolutely do it.
Yeah.
I would pay all that space, even if you never. I mean, I wouldn't know that, but on the risk you'd never play a game, I'd still do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Alrighty, well, that's it. The Suns drafted players. The national media hated it, and I'm glad they did.
Yeah, I mean, we gave some glowing grades after getting Marquise Chris and Dragon Bender, and like, hey, we got maybe the player we wanted at number 2 overall anyway when we got Josh Jackson, and those fell flat on their face.
Yeah, and we got the best player coming or going in the whole cluster hell at the Eric Bledsoe, Isaiah Thomas, Brandon Knight trade deadline. We got the best player out of that deal, Brandon Knight, best player.
Well, so maybe the fact that it's hated is good.
He was like the 7th best player in all those deals. That's the frightening part. It wasn't like it was a little boisterous and he was second. You can almost everybody that was coming and going in all those trades was better than Brandon Knight.
Mm-hmm.
But Ryan McDonough's an asshole, and I won't miss him.
No.
I hope he watches. That's the end of this episode. As a reminder, no episode next week. We're back the week after that with a regularly scheduled episode, and episode 400 is just around the corner. In between shows, especially with 2 weeks now, you can find us on our website, objectionnetwork.com, on social media at Team Objection, on youtube.com/Objection Network 7 days a week, and finally send emails to the show to objectionnetwork@gmail.com. See you next time.